When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hi guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future videos and updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. If you want to get any access to any of my early content, check out my Discord. Now, this is the Red Devil of the Red Lantern Corps, Part 4. This part will probably be a little bit shorter than my normal, so I'm not sure if it's going to be like 30 minutes. It's going to at least be 30 minutes if I length it right. Anyways, this stuff for forewarning. Alright, now let's get into this story. Vivian and the rest of her squad immediately took cover as laser shots begin to rain down upon them by Delta Alpha robotic soldiers. Vivian used her battle assistant UI as the back end of her wrist. The crystal starts to ooze out some sort of liquid metal looking substance coming from the crystal, like I said, back of her wrist, forming into a sword. Vivian immediately threw out a EMP pulse grenade that immediately went off. Then she immediately captured all of the hostiles into a ice dome using cryokinesis. That won't hold them for long. We have a job to do. As Vivian and the rest of her squad withdrawed from the area and try to get to the location to get that laser drill. Delta Alpha wasn't affected by the EMP grenade, but her soldiers weren't so lucky. They were completely down, powered down on the ground, unresponsive. Delta Alpha immediately aimed her arm that shifted into a laser cannon and opened fire, burning a large hole through the ice dome. It seems that these Imperius survivors ran off. I can't locate them in the immediate area. Gotta love a good old chase. Very well, I'll play along. Delta Alpha ran towards the run-up direction, basically going further into the outpost, trying to locate her prey. As you can see, Delta Alpha jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Meanwhile, the battle between Draconis and Delta Omega was non-stop, as they are exchanging blows with each other, with either of them making a solid hit, as their fists and feet would collide with each other. Draconis kicked Delta Omega away, then clapped his hands together, then slowly pulled them apart, creating dozens of fireballs in a row. Then he simply pushed his palm forward as the fireballs begin to fly forward, flying towards Delta Omega, Delta Omega begins to dodge around all of the flying fireballs heading her way. The ones that she couldn't dodge, she hit the side of it with her tail, knocking it away from her direction. For a biological life form, you're pretty good. As Delta Omega appeared right in front of Draconis. Despite your abilities to keep up with me, you're still a biological life form. Weak, frail. As she slammed her fist into Draconis' stomach, sending Draconis into a nearby wall. Draconis unlodged himself from the wall and caught an incoming metal fist from Delta Omega as Draconis slightly lifted her up by the fist and kicked her in the stomach, sending Delta Omega flying backwards. As she dug her heels into the floor of the ground, stopping her momentum as she skid to a stop. You're pretty talkative for a trash compactor. How amusing. How amusing. You know you can't win this. We'll see about that, Buckets. Now where were we? Where were we? Now I remember. It's my turn. Allow me to show you something. How graciously you've shown me your abilities to create fire. It's not as fancy as yours, but it gets the job done. Throw dozens of energy balls surround Delta Omega and begin to swirl around her like they're following a orbit. Shatter and mix. As the energy orbs did what they were commanded and start to fly directly towards Draconis and begin to surround them on all sides. Draconis, sensing the danger he's in, he immediately put up a psychic barrier, tried to tank whatever explosions that these very high condensed energy orbs will eventually unleash. As Delta Omega closed her fist, as all of the energy orbs begin to detonate, one after another. When the explosions receded, when the smoke cleared from the continuous energy explosions, like miniature energy bombs, going off rapidly, as Draconis' physical barrier is slowly crumbling away. Draconis managed to use his psychic barriers to absorb majority of the energy assault. The smoke didn't even clear fully as Draconis rushed forward, running out of the smoke, and began to fire off exploding fireballs. Delta Omega managed to dodge most of them, but the ones that she couldn't dodge, she simply hid with the back of her hand as a few fireballs hit her shoulder, making her go flying backwards from the force of the explosions that made contact with her right shoulder. Despite the damage she received, Delta Omega went into a spin and skid to a stop, using her tail to dig into the ground as she shot a beam of energy out of her mouth right at Draconis. Draconis wasn't expecting her counterattack so soon, as he was hit full blunt from her energy beam that was shot out of the robotic jackal's mouth. When the beam receded, you can see a slightly damaged Draconis as steam is beginning to emit from Draconis' body, as what wounds he received is instantly healing because of his regeneration. Whatever burn marks and cuts that were on his body instantly healed. You shouldn't have done that. Now you pissed me off. Draconis clap his hands together. When he extended his palms away from each other, a firebolt appeared between his two palms. As he grabbed onto the firebolt and dashed forward and threw it towards Delta Omega. The firebolt merely missed her by mere inches, but Delta Omega was still hit by the attack, even though it didn't make direct contact, as Draconis appeared right in the middle of the air, grabbing onto the firebolt that he threw just a second ago, and threw it back, right back at Delta Omega, making a solid hit in her back. As there was a loud explosion, as the robotic body begins to be seen flying through building after building. On the other side of the outpost, Lieutenant Vivian was playing hide and seek with Delta Alpha. Delta Alpha was still jumping from building to building, trying to spot her targets. The robotic fox used her robotic eyes to spot any slight movements through the different buildings and alleyways. On one of the buildings, she's just gazing at the buildings, trying to locate any signs of movement. Delta Alpha decided to head towards the tower of the outpost, right in the middle of the complex. So Delta Alpha teleported and reappeared on top of the tower, trying to get a better view of the entire outpost. As she noticed Delta Omega fighting against one of the other Imperia. As she watches their battle, and she witnessed that biological life form create some sort of fire spear or bolt. She's uncertain, but the next moment she saw her companion get sent by that specific fire weapon, or that fire construct, as she watches Delta Omega fly through building after building. But she knows full well that Maggot, whose Delta Alpha is fighting, has no chance, as she turned her attention back to the main objection, trying to find the little rats that are scurrying around. Vivian noticed one of her squad members approached. "Ma'am, I think we're in the clear. I don't see that robotic-looking humanoid fox anywhere. Keep vigilant. We might have lost sight of that thing, but I highly doubt that will stay the same. Let's move out before she flushes us out." Their planet has similar creatures like foxes, or fox-like alien creatures, basically. Oddly enough, that's what they call them foxes as well. So they're aware of the species of foxes. They're a tad bit different compared to Earth. Anyways, let's get back into this. She knows, despite the weird looking shape of these robots, she knows they're very dangerous. Vivian and her small squad eventually moved from cover to cover and began to travel in the open. As they came across several of the robotic soldiers, that were easily suppressing an assault. A group of pirates, as Vivian acted and had her soldiers open fire. As Vivian telekinesis crushed the frames of the robots, but her attempt was negated by the resistance of telekinesis. Instead of crushing them, she simply cut them down with her sword. As these pirates that these robotic menace killed, she couldn't see any pirates on the street. That doesn't mean there aren't any pirates in the buildings. Suddenly, when Vivian and her squad felt comfortable, they were immediately fired upon by nearby pirates from the windows of the building. Immediately got Delta Alpha's attention as she teleported right above them. Found you, little rats. Vivian had no choice but to enter the building, filled with pirates. Delta Alpha just watched them enter the building, not worried about it one bit. Vivian and her squad did not stay in the building for very long. They hopped out of the opposite window of the first floor of the building. As the pirates came running down the stairs, once Delta Alpha entered the building on the ground floor of the structure. Look at that, more rats. I guess I could play with you for a little bit. After all, I could always check on the other rats at my leisure. All of the pirates that are on the ground level of the building open fire, only to see their laser weapons be bounced off the hard metal of Delta's Alpha's frame. Pirates, noticing their laser weapon not causing the robotic murder machine any harm, they pulled out melee weapons and charged forward. The first one of the pirates fell quickly as Delta Alpha shot a hole in the man's chest. As the pirate fell down to the ground, revealing Alpha's laser cannon that she formed into her hand or right arm, making the pirates separate and try to surround her. How quaint. Filthy rats think you have the upper hand because you have superior numbers. Shut up, you bucket of bolts. Something like you to be sent to the scrapyard. Delta Alpha narrowed her eyes at the pirate that just brutally how he spoke to her. Buff finally spoke in a cold tone. You're gonna die. Next. Then she disappeared and reappeared right in front of him as she cut off his head with her metal tail as blood begins to drip from her tail and from the body as the head fell down on the ground and began to roll as the body collapsed to the ground, spilling more blood as the pirate head rolled closer to the other pirates. As all the pirates charged forward, the poor bastards stood no chance. Delta Alpha literally dismembered them from one by one, piece by piece, by ripping off their limbs. And when the battle was over, it was more like a massacre. There are several different pirate body parts scattered all around the room as Delta Alpha Delta Alpha looked up to the ceiling as she detected several life signs. A bit irritated by the cockiness of these biological life forms, so she chose to wipe them out. All of them in this building, not leaving not one alive. As she went up to the floor by floor and started to personally kill them. Once Delta Alpha walked out of the space pirates, walk up to the stairs on the top floor where the last of the space pirates are residing. Delta Alpha was immediately assaulted by laser fire, but Delta Alpha calmly walked through the beams of energy, not bothered one bit. She formed her hand into an energy cannon and returned fire, killing one pirate after another. As Delta Alpha traveled through the building, killing each pirate that stood in her way or was hiding. They couldn't escape her senses. No matter where they hide, they were already destined to die by her hands. Delta Alpha finally approached the last door on the top floor. After massacring the rest of the pirates, she blasted the door open as she stepped inside. The last space pirates in the building was much larger, more muscular compared to the other ones, wielding some sort of hammer made of an unknown material. As he charged forward, swinging his humongous hammer down upon Delta Alpha, only for Delta Alpha to catch the weapon. It was only 2 fingers. As she crushed the hammer with a finger flick, as the weapon immediately crumbled into his hands. Then she aimed her energy cannon at the head of the man and immediately opened fire. As the head of the pirate was completely vaporized, as the headless body begins to drop to the ground, as the wound was cauterized because of the high condensed energy shot it was received. Delta Alpha begins to unleash another blast at the wall, creating a large hole for her to leave from, as she jumped out of the hole and resumed her hunt. At the same time, Delta Alpha finally came to a stop after crashing through the last building. As the robotic jackal got up and got the dust from the rubble from her metallic body, the damage on Delta Omega began to repair itself. Not bad for organic like you. You surprised me there. I wasn't expecting you to actually input that much power. But that same trick won't work on me twice. Delta Omega swung her fists in the air as a humongous wind pressure was shot forward towards the approaching Draconis. Draconis jumped over the blast of wind pressure coming his way as he leaped in the middle of the air in a mid-flip, landing right behind Delta Omega, as Delta Omega spun around and crossed her arms to block an incoming fist that sent Delta Omega skidding backwards a few inches. I have enjoyed our time together, little pet, and I've already wasted too much time on this miserable outpost, on this miserable moon. I do apologize. You never had to use this on a singular life form before. Consider yourself honored. But our time with each other is at an end for now. Overdrive, activate. As a large amount of energy emanate from Delta Omega's body, the glowing green parts, her eyes, mouth, neck, shoulders, and the rest of her body begin to change color into a bright, glowing purple. Delta Omega bursts forward. About time Draconis saw what his opponent was doing. It was already too late. She flickered out of existence as Draconis was struck across the face as he was sent flying backwards. Not so fast, little pet. As Delta Omega grabbed Draconis by the face and flew with him as she smashed the back of his skull into building after building, as Delta Omega slid to a stop and kept a firm grip on Draconis' face and threw him into a large metal container. As Draconis was instantly enlarged into the metal. Eventually Draconis unlodged himself from the misshapen metal crate and charged forward, swinging a right hook, only for Delta Omega effortlessly lean her head back, dodging the strike. Then she launched her knee into Draconis' stomach. In that simple knee attack, Draconis was lifted up a little bit above the ground. Delta Omega used her metal tail to strike Draconis across the face, as a sonic boom was created as Draconis shot off like a rocket, starting to skid across the ground of the outpost. Delta Omega teleported to Draconis' location and wrapped her metal tail around his neck and lifted him up in the middle of the air. You definitely are one of the most interesting ones of your species, actually. You're the most interesting species I've came across. At least a specimen. You're clearly not like the rest. You intrigue me, little pet. And look, you're already rapidly healing from the damage I caused upon you. How fascinating. I have no intention of killing you. Yet, considering how you kept me entertained for so long, I will grant you your life. I would advise you to get stronger, and when we meet again, if you don't, it will be quite boring. As the robotic murder machine loosened her tail around his neck, dropping him, then she slammed her fist into his stomach hard, then karate chopped him the back of the neck, knocking him out. Delta Alpha, this is Delta Omega. We're leaving. What? Why? I'm still hunting the little rats. We got what we need. We're leaving. Or I will leave without you. If you're not here in the next 10 minutes. Lucky bastards. Fine. On my way. Delta Alpha out. When Delta Alpha met up with Delta Omega, she was surprised that Delta Omega was in her overdrive mode. Wasn't that a little overkill, Omega? He was a lot more stronger than I originally thought. Most interesting biological specimen. Delta Alpha noticed the unconscious Draconis to the side. As she instantly detected life, proving that he's still alive. And you didn't kill him? Why would I do such a thing when he provided me with the most thrilling battle of yet? He's still far more weaker than me. And according to what I've known about this specific race, he's quite young. There's plenty of room for growth. I shouldn't be surprised, considering you're a battle maniac. Let's put it in question. If this biological life form pushed you so far you had to use your overdrive, what exactly is he? He's clearly superior to the other members of his species. He actually might be superior to all his species. We'll leave those questions for later. It's time to leave. We've already been here for far too long. Copy that, Omega. As Omega and Alpha and their troops begin to teleport back to their ship and fly back to their sector, as soon as they were teleported away, Draconis eventually regained consciousness. Shortly after Delta Omega and Delta Alpha left, Draconis is laying on his back, staring upon the ceiling of the dome of the outpost. Draconis heard footsteps fast approaching him, but he was too tired to care or to even move. "You still alive, cadet?" As Vivian stared down at Draconis, relieved to see him still breathing. "Yeah, I'm fine. I just lost. That's a bit irritating." "Never is, cadet." "Are they still here?" "No. As far as I know, they were all teleported off of the outpost, but our job is not done yet. Get up on your feet, cadet. We still have work to do." "Copy that, Lieutenant." As Draconis got up to his feet slowly, as he followed Vivian and the rest of the squad, began to approach the main tower of the outpost. After they hack through the front door of the tower, they enter the lobby area. It was a total wreck, with a few dead bodies scattered all around the lobby of the ground floor of the tower. They begin to search through the whole tower. As they eventually approach the main mainframe, the tower. This will take some time to download all the information. We'll have someone search through the information when we get back to the ship. How are we going to even get back to the ship? Our current vessel is currently not functional. The outpost should have a couple transports we could use. If they haven't been damaged already, we could repair it. I got this handled on my end, so why don't you go out and take 2 of the squad members? Just you to secure the docks where the ships are located. Understood. As Draconis left the room, with 2 of the squad members following him. "Cadet, you might want this, just in case." As Draconis took the energy rifle and gave the female soldier a thankful nod as they entered the very advanced elevator. Once Draconis mentally connect with the device that operates the elevator, they begin to descend down to the ground level. Change scenes on an unknown ship where Delta Omega and Delta Alpha is currently at. It's been quite some time since they left the outpost. That was on that moon. Omega hasn't seen Alpha ever since they returned back to the ship as Omega walk into Alpha's workshop, that Alpha likes to call it. This is where you've been, Alpha. Omega, good. I think I have something set up. What do you mean? Why am I watching images of that outpost? Is this a live broadcast? Of course it is. I left a couple of my dear little pets back on that moon, just in case. It's a good thing I did, considering that biological life form you took such a keen interest in. I want to see what he's made of. So I left a couple of my little pets, my little wolf stalkers. What I want to know is, how are we getting this footage? While you dealt with the initial invasion on the outpost when we first arrived, I had plenty of time to implant and bug my future tech all over the outpost, in case I needed to investigate these species when they ultimately return. After all, this species is a bit different compared to the other ones we've came across so far. They're more a military-based mind, at least. I would have to agree with you there. I will stay and observe, if that's alright with you, Alpha. Think nothing of it, Omega. Looks like the show is about to begin. By the way, how many of your wolf stalkers you left? About 180. I have no doubt they have already spread across the entire outpost. They have the unique function to be able to consume organic matter and to convert it into energy. I designed my wolf stalkers after the likeness and the behavior of a canine species on planet Earth that they refer to wolves. I've never heard of that planet. Earth? Wolves? Not surprising, that planet is protected by those Green Lantern stooges. But enough about those losers. I'm more curious how your little rat will compare to my wolves. We'll just have to see, Alpha. Both Alpha and Omega to see Draconis walk out of the main door of the tower and begin to walk down the street with two of his species to his side, all carrying energy rifles. We cut to a different part of the outpost as you see several robotic wolf stalkers in the docking bay of the outpost, biting and munching on dead corpses, eating the organic matter and turning into pure energy. As several robotic wolves were chomping down on a corpse. That's where we're going to stop it for right now. I'll catch you guys in the next part.